If you're like me, you are tired of trying to find jeans that fit right no matter your build and still look good. Introducing the newest sponsor of the Double Doink podcast, Sweat Tailor, a premium menswear brand that is defining a new kind of casual. I started wearing Sweat Tailor and I am blown away by how comfortable and affordable the clothes are. And of course, they look great. My favorite is the all-in pants. It's a 5-pocket pant that feels like sweats but look way better. Thoughtfully tailored and unbelievably stretchy. From jackets and pants to joggers and hoodies, Sweat Tailor's designs are made to seamlessly fit into your life, moving from runway to office, office to drinks, and drinks to wherever the night takes you. Specializing in casual wear for men, pieces are designed with comfort and versatility in mind for your everyday. Use promo code BDEEGST. That is BDEEGST for 25% off. That again is BDEEGST for 25% off your order at sweattailor.com. And welcome back to another episode of the Double Doink Podcast. My name is Brenden D. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We're talking strictly Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to recap Vikings versus Eagles on Thursday Night Football. No one else to do with than my man Thomas. Petersen. Thomas, I think this hoodie's got too much going on here. These stripes on the side. I feel like there's too much color coming off me.
No, I mean, it's good to not keep it everything like all black apparel is not really. I like some color in there, like change it up a little bit, get some stripes in there. Um, I'm just saying that everything I have is black, white, or green, which is
I just feel like
Eagles
I,
jerseys.
I just feel like these stripes look weird, like on the screen here. I bought it at Costco yesterday, and I was like, this would be perfect for podcasting, like the hoodies, because my basement's cold, and I don't know, I'm not loving the camera reflection from these stripes, but
Oh no,
we're gonna have to deal with it.
got to work through it.
Philadelphia Eagles defeat the Minnesota Vikings 34-28. I was pretty close. I predicted 34-24 on the podcast, so 4 points off from there. But I guess let's just open up for a generic conversation here. How were you feeling last night throughout the game? How were the tensions flowing, or how was the blood flowing through your body? Give me what was going through your mind.
The entire first half, I was yeah. So what I did is I set an alarm for 2:15 a.m. And I always, whenever I wake up there, I'm in the deepest sleep, and so whenever the alarm goes off, I never know why. So I'm always confused for about 5 minutes. Then I have a little bit of nausea, a little bit of temperature, like freezing a little bit because you're under your warm sheets, and then you kind of get up there, you scramble into the to the TV, turn on the game, and then just sit for around like half an hour, 1 hour in zombie mode, like just observing what happened, but not really being able to analyze any of it. And then I kind of wake up a little bit more, I get my coffee, and then basically like very early morning. That entire first half was so freaking boring and so uninspiring. It was like coming off of that Patriots game, and Eagles drives there to begin with. So pretty good opening drive there, field goal. Should have been a touchdown. Like they got all the way down there pretty easily. Should have scored again. The same start as with the Patriots. Then punt, interception, missed field goal, and they just off of those turnovers. Like they had so many chances to punch it in. They had favorable field position and just couldn't get anything going. And all right, so you're looking at from the Patriots game, where they're coming off a field goal drive, fumble, turnover on downs, punt, end of half, touchdown, field goal. Like, and then you just add that onto that first half against the Vikings, and I was panicking. Like I was sitting there going, what are we doing? What is this? This is so night and day from what we saw last year.
We were messing each other. I think it was when we were up 10-3, right? 10-3. I can't remember the exact
score. Yeah, no, 3-7 also believe we were
like we were kind of going like they've had 3 turnovers and they've got 7 points on the board here. And like that's not going to last. Like if you get 3 turnovers in a first half, you got to at least put like 14 points on the board at the minimum. Like those are golden opportunities to kind of cash in. And then the run game kind of came alive. So let's talk about the offense. We'll start with the offense and then transition over to defense later. I was really surprised kind of the game plan going into this to start the game, because we were on the preview episode, we were saying get the run game going early, start with it, then it will open up the passing game. They come out of the gate with 6 straight passing plays, and it wasn't pretty to start the game, and it kind of was just a continuation of the second half from the New England game.
Yeah, 100%. And it was just Jalen Hurts had a lot of time and never really threw the ball. So it's going to be a curious case this week to see just how bad it looks downfield. And we were also talking a little bit about how Vikings were so very clearly setting pressure. Like they were showing it pre-snap. It wasn't any sort of disguise. They kind of hit that until the second half. They started disguising a little bit where they would only rush 3 and then drop everybody. Like show a bunch of pressure, then drop everybody. But in the first half, they blitzed whenever they showed it. And Eagles had no answers for it. Like it was all either it was slow developing concepts or Jalen Hurts was just off. They had a bunch of run reads where Hurts I don't know what he saw. Like it was a wide open middle for DeAndre Swift, and he keeps
That
the
was
ball
a
himself
3rd
and
and 5, right? Or was 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6 inside the red zone?
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it was several examples. Red zone, also one of the I think it was one of the last punt drives the Eagles had, or maybe it was even the interception drive where they're running a run read, and it's literally 5 yards between Jordan Mailata and Landon Dickerson, and there is nobody in there, and Hurts keeps the ball himself, and he just looks slow again, and yeah, it was frustrating because at that point, DeAndre Swift was already in full swing and plowing through contact, and man, we got to get to him.
Mm-hmm. The Vikings defense numbers are insane. I was on Next Gen Stats this morning, and the Vikings had a 40.7% drop 8 rate in this game. That was the highest since 2019. So they were either blitzing heavy or they were dropping 8. Like it was one or the other. They weren't kind of going in between here. They were doing everything they could possibly do to stop the big play passing attack. And Brian Flores, it's funny that game in 2019 was a Dolphins game, and he was the coach of that team, so it's just very familiar to him. But yeah, the Vikings did like I said everything they could to not have Devonta Smith and AJ Brown beat them deep. They just wouldn't allow the passing attack, the intermediate, like the 10 to 30 yard passing game, get anything going, and they game planned for that. And then what happened is I think this either came from Jeff Stoutland or Nick Sirianni at halftime and kind of just going, look, they're dropping so many guys into coverage to slow down the pass. Let's run it down their throats. The Vikings, I also saw on Twitter. I don't know if this is true. I saw it from one account. I can't remember the account, so take this with a grain of salt. But they played a 3 safety look, the highest rate since 2014, apparently. So they were just flooding DBs. And then the Eagles just countered that with the rushing attack. DeAndre Swift, have yourself a damn night. DeAndre Swift finishes the game with 28 carries, 175 yards, and a touchdown. It was probably one of the most impressive running back Eagles performances I can remember.
Yeah, I mean he looked phenomenal, and it was the combination of skills that he displayed. Like he's easily the shiftiest running back on the team. And then you just combine that with an ability to push a pile. There was a couple of plays where he gets kind of stuffed at the line of scrimmage, and he just continues to move ahead, and he gets an extra 2 or 3 yards while moving a bunch of defenders ahead. Naturally, getting some pressure, some push from the Eagles O-line. They did a really good job in the running game as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a little bit of misleading stat being thrown around a little bit on Twitter that how many yards that DeAndre Swift had before contact. Well, that also had a lot to do with his ability to read the line and then his speed to get to the edges before there was actually any defender near him. Like, sure, the Eagles offensive line did a great job, but also he made guys miss even before they had a hand on him, and obviously that goes to the yards before contact stat. So I think it was a really good displaying of Nico's offensive line being really, really good, but DeAndre Swift just read the O-line so well. Like his patience before he committed to a gap was unmatched from what I've seen from an Eagles running back for a very long time. Like
He's
Shady,
looking like prime Le'Veon Bell out there with that patience.
Yeah, I mean that was always the key word to describe Le'Veon Bell. Basically,
Mhm.
the word to describe
Yeah.
Le'Veon Bell. I mean, LaShawn McCoy had some patience as well, but also fans would get very frustrated with LaShawn McCoy because he would literally dance in the backfield before doing something. Like, he would pull off a bunch of sick moves. That wasn't the case with DeAndre Swift. It wasn't like he was juking from side to side. He was just like nimbling around, like quick feet, stuttering from a little bit from side to side, and then committing to a gap and then exploding with power through it. So yeah, it was a really really fun game to watch him play. And
Yeah.
someone brought up a little bit of a blessing in disguise with Kenny Gainwell not playing the game, so they could get a better look at DeAndre Swift. And they definitely did that. I think they're still going to be rotating heavily when Kenny Gainwell and Boston Scott are also healthy and back there, simply because of the injury history of DeAndre Swift. But yeah, what a debut performance for him, which it basically was because he didn't get any touches last week.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when Gainwell does come back, because in both games, like the New England's game and the Vikings game, they wanted a bell cow back, right? Like in Kenneth Gainwell, I think it's 16 carries in the first game. Swift had one, and then Boston Scott had one. In this game, DeAndre Swift is 28 carries, and then Boston Scott and Rashad Penny combined for 8. So in each game, you kind of picked the bell cow back and said, you're the number one guy. And if both of those guys now are healthy, when Kenneth Gainwell does come back from injury, it's a rib injury. He's probably going to be ready to go for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. I'm kind of curious to see how it works, because they're going to have to, if they want to continue this, they're going to have to pick one, or they kind of just go back to a committee. But we haven't seen a running back by committee yet, really. I know Boston Scott got some run and he was injured as well. He left the game with a concussion, but it was the DeAndre Swift show from the get go.
Yeah, and I mean Boston Scott as well. He ran the ball extremely well before
He did,
he
yeah.
left with a concussion as well. Like Boston Scott continues to be underrated.
Mm-hmm. Rashad Penny, man, our boy, just couldn't get on the field. He played a total of 9 snaps.
Yeah,
He had the one little
makes
nice
sense
run,
though with
but
the way that DeAndre Swift was playing. I mean,
yeah, 100%. You don't take him out. Like I thought they would. Like, I didn't think DeAndre Swift would be the lead back for like the first 3 straight drives. I thought they were going to give Penny a drive in the first half. I don't even think he saw a snap until the second half, right? Until Boston Scott got injured.
Yep.
Yeah, so
You're right.
they must not like what they're seeing from Rashad Penny at practice and training camp and whatnot, because it's not like they're saving him or anything. Like, he's just at the bottom of this depth chart.
Yeah, and I guess it kind of makes sense when you see what DeAndre Swift is doing. Like, they've been seeing that in practice as well. I think it has less to do with the lack of skill of Rashad Penny and more so the ability of the other guys.
I think you have to give DeAndre Swift the bulk of the carries going forward. Like, he has to out carry Kenneth Gainwell. He has to out carry Rashad Penny. He has to out carry.
Yeah, but
Boston.
also I mean, it makes sense to be kind of worried about his durability moving forward, because we would much rather have him display what he showed here in week 2, have him display that going into the playoffs and the latter part of the season when things are really starting to heat up, than in week 2, week 3, week 4, and all. So I think it's going to be a heavy rotation still. It's going to be a pain in the ass gambling on Eagles running backs.
He kind of saved the game, like literally. Like, if he won, he was the best player on the offensive side of the ball. Could argue defensive side of the ball. He's the best player on the team tonight. And without him, they don't win this game. So I feel like week 3, you kind of have to. Like, 28 carries is sustainable per game. Like, that is a lot of workload. He hasn't had. I don't think he's had anywhere close to that in his entire career. This probably was a career high in carries. I don't have the exact numbers, but
right.
That makes sense. Like, I don't think we ever saw him get like 25 plus carries in Detroit. So yeah, the durability thing.
But it's also, I mean, it's a perfect symbiosis of Eagles' offensive line being as dominant as it was, and then DeAndre Swift's and I posted a stat earlier saying because he had 9 forced missed tackles in the first game here, and the only player with more was Jameer close to that in week 1. So basically, like we said, Swift didn't have any carries in week 1, so you can basically say this was his debut. Like, he didn't have anything else. So everything on his season is from week 2 game. Jahmyr Gibbs was the only one close. He had 6 missed tackles forced in week 1. He was bouncing around tacklers. Like, he was phenomenal in his debut with the lack of carries that he got there. I think he got like 11 carries or 11 touches, that is. but
funny.
9 missed tackles for. Like I'm like, hold on, you're gonna be talking a little bit here. I'm gonna pull up the stats on how many missed tackles for Miles Sanders had in his tenure with the Eagles.
Yeah, I actually wanted to bring that up next. I thought I watched this game with a buddy of mine who's also an Eagles fan, and I remember, and I said to him, like, Miles Sanders doesn't make these runs. Like, Miles Sanders doesn't run like this. Like, if you had Miles Sanders in this game, he's not running for 28 carries, 175 yards. Like, this was DeAndre Swift doing more and providing more to this rushing attack that the Eagles haven't seen in a long time. No disrespect to Miles Sanders, he's a fine Eagle, and he had a good season last year, but I think they upgraded here. Like, this was a clear upgrade, and just from the eye test, the stats that you brought up and matches, so it was really impressive. I was kind of blown away. Like, I did not see this coming. We were kind of banging the Rashad Penny drum, and then Nick Sirianni says, "How about some DeAndre Swift?" Double Doink Podcast.
All right, so Miles Sanders, in each of his first 3 seasons, he was around that 144 to 193 attempts on a season, and he had around 21 to 31 missed tackles on an entire season. DeAndre Swift had 9 in one game.
Yeah, like, he was his ability to kind of sit behind and spark and go, like, his patience and then explosiveness was like I'm assuming every running back coach across America is going to get their hands on this tape and show, like, this is how you run the football. I would, like, again, blown away. Like, hats off to the kid. Good for him. It's homecoming too. He's from the Philadelphia area, so it was his first time playing for the Eagles at home. So, like, it was a perfect home debut for the kid. The Eagles' offensive line, Thomas, was outstanding. You had a tweet earlier today. Jordan Mailata, the highest PFF blocking grade since or from an offensive tackle ever, correct?
Yeah, from an offensive tackle, and then since 2013 for all offensive linemen.
That's outstanding. And the rest of the offensive line did well as well. Like, Lane Johnson was moving guys. Jason Kelce was moving guys. I thought Landon Dickerson was mauling guys in the run game as well. He looked good. The whole unit as like combined was spectacular. And I tweeted, goes to show, like, Jeff Stoutland had to he was definitely in that conversation at halftime going, run the fucking football.
Yeah, I mean, he had to be. And I think for as bad as it was in the first half of the Eagles, obviously they have high expectations of how good they are, and for them as well, we're a little bit shook about how it looked on the offense. Just imagine what it's like being a player on the team. Like, that must be a shell shock to go out there and find out that everything you're doing isn't working. So they're hoping for something to start working out for them. And yeah, I'm sure that Jeff Stoutland is in both Sirianni and Johnson's ear in terms of how to attack the front that they're facing. But also, like, in the same vein, and we might as well just address that here, because there's always this constant talk about AJ Brown, that sideline exchange.
Yeah. So I wondered.
I know your stance on here. You tweeted something out about it that, like, AJ is the best friend of hers. He's a competitive guy. He wants to be the focal point as well. Like, he wants, when he thinks he can contribute with something, he's gonna let it be known. He's not gonna be sitting in silence whenever he sees something that can contribute. And so when they're on the sideline like that, it's natural for a player, any player, doesn't matter who you are, if it's AJ Brown or third stringer, getting some chance on the field. If you're seeing something on the field and your pulse is high, juices are flowing, adrenaline is pumping through it, like, you're not going to be silent about things. You're going to be animated when you're discussing things on the sideline. That's just natural. And so when he sees something and he's seeing how they're running the ball all the time, when they're throwing the ball, Hurts isn't looking deep. He's always checking the ball down. He's not seeing anything down the field. He's not taking any chances. Whenever they call the pass play, you and I talked about this, it just looks like they don't have anything going in 10 to 20-yard range. Mm-hmm. And Hurts really denied to throw it in those ranges there. He had the 2 deep passes for Devontae Smith. That was basically it. That's all they tried down the field. And so it's natural for AJ to approach Jalen about these things and approach Sirianni about these things. Like, look at what I got going. Like, he is the one running routes on the outside of that. If he sees I have the deep open all the time when I'm running this, he's gonna be letting it known. Like, come on, like, throw the ball. Actually, look my way and see what I'm seeing. And to his credit, right after on that drive, they would have had 2 touchdowns to AJ Brown if it wasn't because of those questionable calls that
the holding was ticky-tacky, like that was 50-50, like half the refs call, half don't.
Yeah.
The pass
But it's like if you want to be tacky with that, if you want to call that a holding and you want to be like, oh, the players have to be really playing inside the rules, then that is a PI 10 out of 10 times as well. Because was that more of a tacky? I don't think it's a tacky PI. I think it's 100% a PI, no matter how you're calling the game.
That was pass interference all day. That was
exactly. Like, you just took away a touchdown with a tacky holding. You give them the ball at the 1 yard line with a PI call in that spot, because otherwise that would have been a touchdown to AJ as well. So AJ was 100% correct in that. Yep. And then not only that, and then Hurts freestyles afterwards and take 2 bad sacks and they punt the ball.
Mm-hmm. That one sack was killer. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so stupid.
My biggest kind of disappointment with the passing game today was we talked on the preview episode where I thought they really matched up well against the secondary. Like, I thought AJ Brown and Devonta Smith were going to have one-on-one matchups where they should have been able to attack it. Of course, they had the deep shot to Devonta Smith, and then they had the second one where they were just the cornerback was on an island there. He had no chance. Devonta Smith just runs freely. Like, I thought they could have got like 4 or 5 of those type of plays, because I brought up the drop 8 rate at a 40.7%. The Vikings also blitzed 7 out of 40% rate. So they were either blitzing 7 or dropping 8. Like, that was it. That was their game plan. Like, it wasn't like this. Like, and I know they confused their coverages. Like, they had guys come up the line, they backed up, but it was like it was a 2-headed race. It was a 2-horse race. It was blitzing and we're dropping 8. There was not like we're gonna run 4 or we're gonna run 5. It was kitchen sink or we're getting the fuck out of there. So I really thought that the matchups, like we kind of nailed what Brian Flores is going to do on the preview episode. This is what we predicted, and this is what the Vikings did in the week 1. So it just felt like the one-on-one matchups for AJ Brown were probably there, and Hurts didn't see it. And just to tie it all up with the AJ Brown conflict, it's a whole big nothing burger, man. This means absolutely nothing. Look, I played university football in Canada for 3 years. Like, I'm not I never played American college football. I never played NFL, whatever. I played at a pretty high level from where I'm from. And I had these type of conversations. I see all those type of conversations all the damn time. Like, this, if you play sports.
Literally after every single drive. Yes. Every single drive, when you meet up in your position, like in your unit group, when the defense gathers after that, there's always going to be someone who's pissed about something that that's either being ignored on the field, that the coach hasn't realized, or that they're seeing themselves. It happens all the time.
Exactly. Like that conversation probably happened 15 times. In combined the first 2 weeks, and the media, the camera was on it for that one part. So then everyone takes it for granted. Like, everyone kind of takes it.
And the worst part is that the ones that are really putting it out there, and the accounts that are being streamlined for these kind of things. You know which one it is. It's Dove Clement, it's Yasri, it's NFL Rums, it's NFL rumor stuff. It's what else are they called? ML football, the one you said. None of those guys ever played football.
No,
I can guarantee you.
And they all
guarantee you that they literally put out tweets of guys making one-hand catches in practice and say, "Whoa, look at this." I'll go out there in the yard. I'll do that right now.
I'd actually like to see it. I'd like to see you make one-handed catches.
Yeah, I'll shoot you a video. I'll have my girlfriend throw a couple balls my way. I'll show you what I can do.
Oh, hey, sign them up. Hey, the Eagles.
You can put that up there. You can add those accounts and say, "Oh, look at this talent."
The Eagles need a third wide receiver right now with Quez Watkins' injury. So
they should not sign me.
Yeah, you might be a free agent signing for the Eagles.
I would be a subtraction by addition.
I was blown away at, like, because last night I saw the AJ Brown stuff and I was just like, this is nothing. Wake up in the morning and it's all over my timeline. It's like, are people insane? Like, it's such a, like, not a big deal. they're like, isn't Hurts AJ Brown's godfather, like the kid's
Yeah.
godfather? Yeah, like they're so close. They're not going to let they just won 34-28. Like, you don't think they're in the locker room happy right now? Did you like the Eagles posted a video clip of AJ Brown like leaving the field like all happy, and he's kind of going like, my bad, like it's all good. Of course he didn't want to speak with the media after the game because that's all the questions he would have freaking got. So the Eagles media team was probably like, we're not letting him talk to the reporters, which was a smart idea. And I loved Nick Sirianni's answer to this. I think Elliot Shore-Parks was the one that asked him. I know Elliot Shore-Parks had the video on Twitter of it. I don't know if he was one that asked the question, but Nick's like, I'm not telling you shit. Like, this is between me and my guys, and that's what a good head coach does. Doesn't put his teammates under the bus. I don't understand why this is getting so much attention at all.
Did they really put out a video of AJ running out the?
Yeah, if you watch like the Eagles, like they always post like a compilation of like all the players like running into the tunnel after the game. There's like a quick shot of AJ Brown in that. It's titled "Dubs at Home Are Just Better." That's what the tweet was. If you watch the video, you can see AJ Brown leaving. He's fine. He's happy. Like it's not a big deal at all. Like, and he went back and had almost 2 touchdowns. It was, I don't know. I thought this. I think it's insane that we're even talking about this. I think we wasted too much time on it.
Yeah.
But it had to be talked about. Let's finish up with Jalen Hurts quickly before we move over to the defense, because I think I have stuff to talk about him first. Are you concerned at all with Jalen Hurts right now?
A little bit in the beginning of the game, I was. I think after the game, not as much. I think this game really just emphasizes my point when we previewed this game. Every QB designed run where it's designed for Hurts to run it needs to get the hell out of the playbook immediately. You have too much talent on the field. You have too many good running backs. You have a QB who is generally pretty good at reading these things in the RPO and the run read game. You need to put the ball more in the offensive line's responsibility in terms of run blocking when you're running, and in terms of Hurts knowing exactly what to do. These QB runs, they don't go anywhere. He gets beat up. He gets whenever you're taking big hits, it's always going to impact you on the next couple of plays afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
If he's not in a rhythm, if he can't get things going as a runner, that's going to impact his decision making as a passer afterwards. That's my take on it. I think when he is in a groove passing, that is going to reflect on the rest of his game. And when the offensive is rolling, I think he feels more freedom to scramble out the pocket, pick up 5 easy yards when nothing is down the field, like those kind of things. Mm-hmm. But when they're lining up an empty formation and he's the primary runner on the play, I hate to see it. Like, I really don't like that approach to the offense, because it impacts Hurts' decision making. It impacts his physique when he's taking these hits, and it's not necessary when you have as talented as a team as they do. So I'm not concerned about Hurts overall. I think he's making smart decisions as a passer generally. He's thrown some really good deep passes. He's had that massive pass to A.J. Brown against the Patriots that was taken away after review. The one to A.J. Brown was a dime where he scrambles out the pocket and he throws it down the field. That was a dime as well. It was a dime to A.J. Brown that when it got taken away by that PI. So I think we're seeing better play than is actually being put on the stat sheet. But I think there are some things they need to look at here in the next 11 days. They have reflect on the play calling, and putting Hurts in the best situation for the offense.
Yeah, they have 11 days to the next game, so they have some stuff to figure out. The first 2 quarters are rough, man. Like, that was probably the worst 2 quarters of football I've seen Jalen Hurts play. And then you can even tie that into like the first 4 quarters of the season in the New England game. So first 6 quarters weren't pretty. And I think, like, I haven't looked at these stats yet. Ben Baldwin's database where I get like my success rate and EPA stats aren't up yet. But like the success rate stats have to be really low and the efficiency stats have to be really low, because like he had the 2 big deep plays to Devonta Smith. Like, of course those count, but outside of that, like the passing game was just non-existent in the first half. The first big Devonta Smith touch play was in the first half. Like there was nothing generating, so they weren't efficient at all. And then in the second half, I thought he played well. He had 111 passing yards. He was 8 of 10 for 2 total touchdowns. He had a rushing and a passing. And then like if AJ Brown, like that touchdown counts, we're all talking about Jalen Hurts in a completely different way this morning. Yeah. Right? Because then he has 145 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, and he's 9 for 11 and a half. Like that's MVP numbers. So like if that touchdown counts to AJ, it's all fine and dandy, and the media is having a completely different conversation. Now, of course, the touchdown didn't count, but overall, I thought like overall, I think he played fine. I think our standard is too high for him maybe right now. And the second half was really kind of salvaged it. And I think they need to bring the momentum going into Tampa. But you said, I think they've got some issues to figure out in the passing game. Like Hurts is not reading the field as well. He kind of just seems a little bit indecisive in the pocket. And I think it's because defenses are throwing different shit at Hurts. Like Brian Flores' defense was kind of insane last night. Like free safety looks at the highest rate. Like you're dropping 8, you're blitzing 8. Like there was no in between here. So maybe it's just catching them off guard, and they just need to kind of counterpunch it. So again, they've got 11 days to figure that out, and they've got plenty of time.
And I think Hurts actually addressed it really well when he said that what better way than to be a work in progress and come out with 2 wins right out the gate. Mm-hmm. And all these stats and player debacles and all this kind of thing, it doesn't matter when you're winning. And Sirianni said it as well. Making adjustments is a hell of a lot easier when you're 2-0 than if you're 0-2.
Yep.
Exactly. Everybody is bought in when you're winning. That's just like winning cures everything. And for Hurts, he knows just as well as everybody else that it's not perfect. And really it doesn't have to be. Like talking about all the passing stats and who runs and who doesn't run and all this. And AJ Brown, the same thing. I mean, nobody really cares when you're 2-0. And for a team that we have a general idea is struggling with the coordinators and getting things together, the secondary, that's a whole other thing. The secondary looks lost on just about every other play. Like there's always confusion on who's picking up who when you're going against bunch formation sets. But even that, all of the sloppiness and the coming slow into these games, they won 2 games in 4 days, 5 days, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that can go to kind of like just prove that like the offense wasn't going to be as explosive like tonight or the first day. Like it was really congested the first 2 games. Like you had 2 games in 5 days. It's kind of chaotic, right? Like you have a lot of shit to kind of get together and get ready. So, but yeah, overall, I'm not worried. Like I think there's like stuff they have to figure out in the passing game. Yeah. But I'm fully confident that they can do it.
They have a long extended week here, basically a bye week, to take a step back, adjust the schemes, get healthy. That's one big thing. Howie Roseman has some time now to start evaluating whether he should be adding players, adding linebacker, adding a cornerback to play the slot if they're confident in Mario Goodrich, or getting a veteran in at least to back up Mario Goodrich if the idea is that he is supposed to be starting in that slot spot. But yeah, it's a perfect time to have a little bit extra than everybody else and be 2-0.
Yeah, and the schedule worked out nice where they get the Thursday night out of the way on week 2. I know there's some injuries that came with it, but much rather be doing it now than playing like a Thursday in week 13 when you already had your bye, right? So there's a little bit of a scheduling benefit for the Eagles there.
The Double Doink Podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Life is hard. It's especially hard when you don't have someone you can open up to. Not everyone is comfortable talking to their friends and family about their personal matters or anything that is bothering them on a day-to-day basis. Mental health is so important to continued success in this world. Therapy is a great way to regroup and get everything off your chest. Insert BetterHelp. BetterHelp is the largest online therapy service, 100% online. They will match you with professional licensed therapists you can trust. You can talk with your therapist however you see fit, via text, phone call, or video chat. BetterHelp has successfully helped over 4 million people worldwide deal with their day-to-day mental health issues. Use a link in the podcast description to get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp. The Double Doink podcast is officially sponsored by Manscaped. Fresh Ball Fall is upon us, and you need to be in the festive spirit. Light a candle, get some pumpkin spice, and make sure your balls look nice with the sponsors of today's show, Manscaped. Nature may clear the leaves off the trees, but you'll need Manscaped's help to get you ready for the sweater weather. Get your pants puppies prepared for cuffing season with trim as refreshing as a ball breeze by going to manscaped.com and using code DOINK for 20% off everything plus free shipping. It's time for nice flannels and cozy socks, but we can't forget to trim our balls. By now, you've heard of them, but it's time to join the 9 million men worldwide who use Manscaped and get the kit that covers it all, the Performance Package 4.0. It starts with the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer with advanced skin-safe technology that reduces nicks and cuts to make the raking the leaves a lot less painful. Once you've cleared the driveway, the Performance Package comes in hot with products to cool you down. The Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Spray Toner, one to prevent stink and one to clear it up. With a soothing aloe vera formula, move over pumpkin spice, fresh balls are the smell of the season. The Performance Package 4.0 caps it off with 2 free gifts, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. That's one to hold your Manscaped goodies and one to hold your man goodies. Bring in the fall right and get 20% off and free shipping with code DOINK at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code DOINK. As the leaves fall, make sure you have it all with Manscaped.
Okay, let's talk about the defense. So the Eagles give up 28 points. Kirk Cousins dropped back 44 times, just kind of like we predicted. They weren't going to run the ball at all. 31 completions, 4 touchdowns for Kirky Cousins, no interceptions. The Vikings run game was non-existent. 8 carries for 28 yards from Alexander Madison. Ty Chandler had 1 carry for no yards. Justin Jefferson did most of the damage over the AR-11 catches for 159 yards. I guess generic take on the defense. How do you think they played?
I think Zach Cunningham and Nicholas Morrow played really well. Really want to tip my cap to Nicholas Morrow. I think he really played well as well, especially for a guy who initially didn't make the roster at all. He came in and he instantly looked 1,000 times better than Christian Ellis.
He had to call the plays too. He was the green dot, like off the practice squad. That's a lot of responsibility.
And I think it's really telling that Christian Ellis didn't get any work in this game. That he played so poorly last week that Morrow got signed to the active roster and then started immediately over him. That is very healthy to see from Harry Roseman, to be able to make those personal decisions, because we know that he sometimes keys a little bit more in on guys and wants to give them more of a chance despite them obviously not playing well. I'm curious to see the tape on the D-line this week because Hassan Reddick, last week against the Patriots, he was clearly winning a lot and was very close to getting home with the pressure. I didn't see him at all this game.
No, he was invisible. And, PFF really torched him. Like the backline stats back up what kind of I saw.
Yeah.
Hassan Reddick had 39 snaps in this game. He had 1 total pressure. He had the 3rd lowest PFF grade on the team out of 23 eligible defensive players. He did not look good. Now, not worried about him either. He didn't get off to a good start last year. He had 2 really bad games to kind of start off the year. He really picked it up in week 3 against the Commanders. I think it's when he got his first sack of the year, was in that Carson Wentz game. And then week 4 against Jacksonville is when he kind of took over. So going to give Reddick a little bit more time here and before I kind of crush him and start to get worried. But yeah, he did not. He was completely invisible in this game. Wasn't a great Fletcher Cox game either. He played 76% of the snaps, Thomas. Way, way too many snaps for Fletcher Cox tonight. Now, I know that could be – I was thinking about this because there were so many turnovers, right? And there was so much changing of the guard with the ball. So it's not like he needed a long break in between and drives and stuff. So maybe that had something to do with him playing a lot. But I thought 76% of snaps was way too much. And yeah, the defensive line was stolen by Josh Sweat and Jordan Davis. They were unbelievable in this game. Jordan Davis, I think he's been the most pleasant surprise of the year. If you're an Eagles fan and you want to take the biggest or the best takeaway from the start of the season, it's the resurgence of, or not resurgence, the emergence of Jordan Davis, because he's been flat out awesome.
Yeah, he's been terrific. I mean, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis are exactly what Eagles fans could have hoped for those guys to be. It's really impressive what Jordan Davis. I mean, Jordan Davis looked every bit the pass rusher that we were just having a tad hope that he could be after watching last week. You look at a game like that, you say, "Oh, I really hope that it wasn't an anomaly," and just because that Patriots guards were rookies and not maybe not up to the task, and then out comes Jordan Davis in this game. He does the exact same thing. He had maybe the best pass rush move that I've seen from him. That swim over the guard where he got the pressure in Kirk Cousins' face and he throws an incompletion off of that. And then the play where he gets the sack, that was supposed to be a play action bootleg. And the tight end doesn't even come across the field because Jordan Davis smothers the guard to an extent. The tight end trips over because he trips over. Kirk Cousins trips over the tight end. Like everybody falls down because Jordan Davis just obliterates the guard right off the snap.
It was actually the center. It was Austin Schlottman that he pushed.
Yeah,
it was the guy that we could have. It was the guy that we could have pronounced. I was laughing my head off. I wanted to bring that up in this episode because I was like, I remember me and Thomas couldn't even pronounce the guy's name on the preview episode, and I'm like, who's number 65? And then I looked up. I'm like, oh my god, that's the center. That's the guy that was replacing.
It was very fitting that was the first like solo sack of Jordan Davis's Eagles career as well. That it was based off of destroying the line to where the offense couldn't function and then touching the quarterback down.
Yeah, he bolted like 4 guys over. At the end, there was like a pile of like 4 Vikings on top of the ball. Yeah, Jordan Davis was awesome. He was arguably their best player on the defensive side of the ball, maybe on the team outside of DeAndre Swift. PFF really graded him high as well. And then Josh Sweat, I thought was incredible. That was one of the best games I've seen Josh Sweat play as an Eagle. He was winning like constantly. Like there was like a couple where if you just gave him like a third of a millisecond or a third of a second to get there, he was hitting Kirk Cousins. That one touchdown to KJ Osborne in the fourth quarter, Josh Sweat was like almost there.
Right there. And it would have been a strip sack as well.
Yeah, like, and he had the strip sack, of course, that led to a touchdown. So like hats off to Josh Sweat. And it was cool to see it done on Thursday Night Football because I think Josh Sweat has been awesome the last 3 years. I thought he was very underrated last year. If he didn't miss the last couple games with that neck injury that he suffered against the Saints, his sack numbers would have been like higher because he was on an absolute tear towards the end of last season before he got hurt. So it's cool to see him kind of shine on prime time and him to kind of get some limelight here. Yeah,
and I actually think he's on pace to the best start of his career as well, just in terms of like overall pressures. Through 2 weeks here. Was he? Yeah, he's had 10 pressures, and for as good as Josh Sweat has played, Jalen Carter still clears him with 11.
Mm-hmm. 11 pressures through 2 weeks for Jalen Carter, man. it's insane. It's insane. I did not like, and I was always trying to keep my expectations for him level because I was like digging up on like historical like defensive tackle rookie seasons, and it's not pretty. Like defensive tackles don't come into the league and do well. Like Quinnen Williams had 2.5 sacks his rookie season. That's it. He's got almost $100 million. Like it takes time for these guys. And Jordan Davis is a great example of this. Like he had to go through growing pains in his rookie year, and now he's popping off the second year. So for those two guys to be able to do this at such a young age, future's bright, man. Future's bright.
I mean, I'm just looking at some random stuff right now. I mean, Carolina Panthers in week 1 had a total of 8 pressures, and Jalen Carter has 11 on 2 games by being a rotational defensive lineman.
Okay, let's talk about the secondary because I think there's definitely some stuff that needs to be figured out by the next game. So let's start with the injuries. Avonte Maddox, it looks like he's going to miss the rest of the season. Adam Schefter reported today that they fear it's a torn pec muscle that would end his year. Man, he just can't stay healthy, eh? Like he's been a Band-Aid for this team.
Yeah. Maybe it's not you never hope for injuries, but maybe it's kind of it gives them a chance of seeing someone else get that slot role. I mean, Mario Goodrich, can he be the guy moving forward? Like I said before, I'd like to see a veteran added to the team that can back it up. If Mario can't play the guitar or gets injured or something like that you have a backup option there to play that slot role. I don't know if the answer would be James Bradbury playing the slot and having Josh Jobe be a full-time starter. Yeah, but there's a lot of rotation on the in the secondary right now, primarily due to injuries. And my lord, have they been injured?
Mm-hmm.
It's James Bradbury, it's Avonte Maddox, it's Reed Blankenship. That's 3 out of 4 starters, 3 out of 5 starters.
Yeah,
And the other safety spot, you don't really even know who's the starter there. Like sometimes it's Terrell Edmonds, sometimes it's Justin Evans, sometimes it's Sidney Brown's in there for a couple snaps. Reed Blankenship was the only straight up starter out of the gate, and so they're like you could basically say they're missing 3 out of 4 of their solidified starters in the secondary.
What do you think they do with Avonte Maddox to fill his role? What about a little Sidney Brown mixed in the slot?
Maybe. I think I'll be looking into to see if I could sign someone as well. But I think they like the guys they have. They kept this many cornerbacks for a reason, to be prepared for a situation like this. But I mean, there are some names out there. I know Bryce Callahan is out there. And yeah, I think the corner is always difficult to pick up in free agency, and I think that's obviously why the Eagles kept as many as they did. But slot cornerback is a little bit more manageable of finding somebody who can play that role.
Yeah, there's not.
I think Mario Goodrich was all right. I mean, Mario
he had the 2 blown coverages. He had the one in the first half, and then he had one in the second half. He was just late to getting to Justin Jefferson. Like it looks like he just didn't know if he was passing it off or not.
Yeah, so was Darius Slay. So, I mean,
yeah,
it was.
So I think Goodrich has some upside here. I really liked him. This in the summer, I thought I didn't have him on the roster, but I did think he was getting in the practice squad. It's kind of cool to see him make his way up into the lineup now. But yeah, you're right. Just kind of circling back to what you said, like with Maddox, like now you're going to get a chance to see these guys. I actually thought Josh Jobe didn't play terrible besides the deep pass that they caught from Jordan Addison. I know that he got beat there, and that's the problem with being a cornerback. You miss if you have one bad play. They could take it 70 yards to the house. So
yeah, and it wasn't because he got he got beat, but it wasn't because he wasn't close to being in position. It wasn't that he jumped on a double move or something like that. But yeah, it's never good when you get beat. But there are worse ways to get beat if you're going to let up a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. What about some love for Justin Evans, Thomas? I actually thought he played okay.
Yeah, I think he probably will.
Yeah. Yeah, he's making smaller words. He was listening to our podcast. That's why he had to play well. Justin Evans actually on the year has only given up 3 catches on 8 targets for 42 yards. One of them he has allowed a touchdown, but he was involved.
I will say though that some of those are registered off of zone coverage where the over the middle, where it's the linebacker who is being the one giving up the play. Where Justin Evans was in a completely perfect situation to blow up the receiver or the tight end. I think it was in those situations over the middle where he just doesn't do it.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't count on the stat sheet.
Mm-hmm. You're right. I think like those stats are probably misleading, but he popped off the screen a couple times. He was involved in those 2 turnovers as well, one on special teams and then one on defense. So he played okay. I think he kind of deserves to keep some playing time here. But we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think there's a couple options they can do. Yeah, they can look to sign a free agent. They can, I think, something we talked about in the preseason and something they did in some practices, according to some beat reporters, is move James Bradbury into the slot and have Josh Jobe start on the outside. I don't think you're going to see that right away. My best guess is what they're going to do is they're going to just let Mario Goodrich play and see how it works and see how it goes, right? He earned a roster spot, right? They kept him around for a reason. Like, I think it's kind of looks bad if you just go out there and sign a starter, go out there, trade for a starter, you go out and you start Bradbury in the slot right away. Like, I think you got to let this kid, you got to give this kid another game, in my opinion, and then take it from there. So, but they've got a ton of injuries in the secondary, and they need to get healthy here. I'm assuming James Bradbury is probably going to play against Tampa. I don't know how Reed Blankenship's ribs are. We haven't really got any word from it at all.
It's easier to pain manage rib injuries like broken ribs or distortions to the ribs. It's much easier to pain manage after the first week. The pain usually intensifies over the first week, and then afterwards it kind of decreases from that point, and it's much easier to find a balance of of relieving the pain off of that. It's really difficult in the first week because you're feeling as every day go by, you're getting more and more difficulty breathing because of pain when you're doing so. And if there's something you don't want to be doing when you have difficulty breathing, it's playing football.
Yeah. Have you ever broken a rib before?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
It sucked?
Yeah, and I've had many patients with much worse rib injuries than I have admitted in our departments, and it's first couple of days are not fun.
I always sometimes forget that like you're an actual like MD doctor. Sometimes talking, it's like,
and in an orthopedic department right now. Usually when we get like traumas in, it's all the other stuff that happened during the trauma, like broken this or that, like clavicle or something like that, in like right off of the trauma mechanism. And then as we admit them and we start actually mobilizing and pain regulating them during admission, they start to develop more and more pain, and that from the rib injuries, and that usually becomes the primary thing as we're getting them ready to get home. But yeah, that's it's a tricky thing with rib injuries from a pain management perspective, because usually all the other injuries are like you get the pain max pretty early, and then you can kind of work with it from there. Broken bones, whenever you get them splintered, usually the pain kind of goes away because you get immobilized, you're good to go, and it doesn't really become an issue from there. Maybe some swelling, but that's it. Ribs and clavicles are more tricky because it's stable stuff, and you kind of have to breathe. So,
What's the craziest injury you've seen? Like,
the craziest injury, and it's not really that dramatic, but it's crazy in the sense of how it affected the person, was a double Achilles tear.
Oh my
God!
God.
One injury. It
in
was a
both
guy
legs, like in both
yes,
legs.
Yeah.
Oh my
so
Jesus.
It was a guy. He had like he was doing renovation in his house, and he had like he ordered like a bunch of material on the way home, and he was pushing. What do they call those things where you lift a forklift or
forklift? Or no,
like a
like
manual.
pump it up, like a pump.
Yeah,
car,
exactly.
Pump car.
So he was pumping up that all the materials there, and he was about to drag it down into his into the road towards his house, and that had a little bit of an angle to it, and so he had to stand against it with his weight, and it was a lot heavier than he expected, and so he had to stand against it, and he has one leg behind the other to kind of like push up and take steps back. He hears a pop in one of his legs. He can't stand on that leg, so he puts the other one back to kind of compensate for it, and he hears a pop in that immediately after.
Oh my God.
And then he just kind of rolls to the side. This thing with all the stuff, it just rolls through the road there, and he's sitting there in the like on the ground and can't get up. And so he gets into the emergency department where I greet him and take him out initially, and god damn it, like it was on both sides. One of them was a little bit higher than the other, so one of them was torn right at the tendon insertion side. The other one was a little bit higher, and we were really careful to diagnose it. It's an easy diagnosis to make. You have a couple of tests you do, you ultrasound scan it, and then that's it. So whenever I read that they're doing MRIs in America for Achilles tendons, I always kind of laugh a little bit inside, because it's the most useless diagnostic tool for Achilles tendon tears. Like if you don't know how to ultrasound, it's fine. But if you do and have a little bit of clinical knowledge, then it's the easiest thing to diagnose. Ultrasound to scan him, and said, I mean, he was not old. So it's like, sorry, buddy, but we're going to have to put splinters in both legs. You can't put any pressure on either of them. So we're going to admit you, and we're going to see how we're going to most probably going to manage this, obviously with one of our foot specialists. So we ended up surgically repairing one of them and then conservatively repair the other one. Yeah, it was for a young guy, he had to be admitted to like a home, right? Basically, for at least 7 weeks.
Jesus Christ, that just gave me like the heebie-jeebies. And did all the shit, like, I guess it all fell down, right? Like if he was holding up this cart, all the shit went down.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know. The only thing he was worried about at that point was how his legs were going to be working.
Tough day for that guy. That sucks. That's painful. The torn Achilles always looks so painful. Like the Aaron Rodgers one the other night, like watching the zoom in of like the calf pop. Oh,
yeah.
Freaks me
And
out.
usually when it's sportsmen, they always come in saying the same thing. Like usually it's guys who are in a race or playing some kind of like racket sports, and they're putting weight down on one angle and trying to move up to the other, and they hear the pop from that. It's like a lot of them will say that they think someone tripped over them or they got kind of kicked from behind. And a lot of them will be mad because why would someone trip me over or kick me from behind? And they look around, there's nobody there. And that's the pop that they're feeling in their Achilles.
God. Okay.
This took a turn.
Yeah, no, that was good. That was a good segment. I like getting off topic sometimes. Okay. I think that's it. I don't think I have much else on the game. It was exciting. Of course, they're 2-0. Any macro takes you want to get off your chest? That big picture?
It's a really good time to get some time off now and get the squad settled, get all the expectations figured out here with the team, and get everything adjusted. And then they have Buccaneers on Monday Night Football and another primetime game. Hopefully, we're going to see them come out guns blazing there.
I think Jalen Hurts is going to have this. I had this one circled on his calendar. I think he wants another.
Todd
Bowles, right? Todd Bowles. They were laughing at him last time they saw each other. Like the defense was laughing at him. The coach, the whole sideline. So I think this is definitely a game that you're going to want. That Hurts is going to come out firing. Any games you got your eyes on this weekend? We got a free Sunday.
I am always looking for the Atlanta Falcons. I've become a big time closet fan of the Atlanta Falcons. I think
fighting Arthur Smiths,
Tyler Algier, and Bijan Robinson are two of my favorite players, non-Eagles, to be watching.
They got the Packers at home right now, and
yeah,
they're currently favorites over the Packers. That's a fun game.
Jordan Love played well in his first game.
Mm-hmm. He did. He looked awesome.
Did you know that was his only second start? Like he's been playing in a lot of games, but it was only his second start.
Yeah, his first start was against the Chiefs back in 2021, I think.
Yeah,
and it was a funny clip circled this offseason where they asked Andy Reid about Jordan Love, and he goes, "Who?" And they're like, "Andy, he started against you," and Andy doesn't even remember that Jordan Love started against him. And I think that kind of motivated. I think Love was told that, and he's kind of going "There's nothing I can do." So it's a cool story. I love kind of the guys that sit behind a veteran for so long and finally get a shot. So good to Jordan Love. Yeah, the Cowboys Jets game. I'm really curious to see if that Cowboys offense is clicking against the Jets.
It should be.
That Jets defense looked ferocious against the Bills, man. That was probably the best unit I saw all week one was that Jets defense. So curious there. See how that goes. All right, man. I think that's all we got.
I do think that the Cowboys defense are going to having a feast on Jets offense.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's gonna be a low scoring game for sure.
Yeah. If someone knows how to wear down defenses, it's that systematic Dallas offense.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think that's it. I got nothing left. Thomas has nothing left. Make sure to check out our sponsors, BetterHelp, Manscaped, and Sweat Taylor. Thomas and I will be back sometime next week previewing Tampa. Do you have any idea who you're going to do your film breakdowns on? I'm going to put a recommendation.
Yeah, give me some names.
Okay. Can you do a passing offense one? Sure. Can you get the back end of the passing off? I'm so curious to see what the hell is going on. Are the routes not open? What's Hurts seeing? What's Hurts not seeing? I would love a breakdown of that because I can't figure it out because Canada. So Amazon has a package where you can get the all 22 in real time, and Canada doesn't have that access to it. We have to watch it on our local cable provider. No, so Amazon Prime, they host the Thursday Night Football, right? So on Thursday nights you can watch the all 22, and I was excited to go into doing it this week. I go to Amazon Prime in Canada. They don't have the game listed, and I Google and I search up, and it's Canada doesn't show, or Amazon Prime Canada doesn't show the all 22 angle. So I was kind of stiffed out on that. I was really hoping to see kind of the back end of the offense going into the Viking secondary and see how it looked. So I couldn't get an opportunity. So I would love a film breakdown of the passing game.
Noted. Anyone else?
Players. I'm guessing you're probably going to want to do a lot of this game, right?
Yeah.
Because he was so damn good. Yeah. Do you have any ideas, or do you have anyone in mind?
I think I want to be looking a little bit on the linebackers in this game, and then on Josh Sweat.
Mm-hmm. His second half was stacked, so you'll have lots to go off of there. All right, let's finally get out of here. Again, check out sponsors: BetterHelp, Manscaped, and Sweat Taylor. And Thomas, I'll be back sometime next week, and then we will. Till then, we will talk to you later.